gym. It's evening time. I am just respecting where I am right now. Some of the news that I've seen today has been disappointing. So I'm just grounding myself in the reality of where things are while I try to stay focused and committed to my goals. But yeah, I feel away. And I'm trying to get to the root of the sadness so that I can neutralize the feeling and put something a little bit more favorable in its place. Spent a few minutes listening to a few perspectives, so I dropped by Candace Owens' live stream today, which is Thursday, November 13th. It's about 6:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. She's probably still streaming. I dropped out. Didn't stay too long, but just listened in for a little bit. And again, just as a U.S. taxpaying citizen who's worked in some of these industries, I feel like I'm in a twilight zone. So just trying to keep my own head on straight, keep my obligations in check, and try to move forward. It's a wild time we're in. A lot of the things that I've experienced, I haven't talked about, and I probably won't, even though I know I could. I just try to stay positive and just cut the cords of what needs to be cut. Because when I jump into some, again, just legal and content creators who focus on economics and real estate, the outlook looks grim for the United States. So, again, just kind of honoring where things are, and in the meantime, holding myself accountable. And that includes me working out. It's the afternoon, evening. Usually try to go when it's still daylight. But today I just allowed myself to move slowly. I worked from my phone for a little bit, worked from my laptop. And yeah. Yeah. But I'm alive. I tell myself that. I think, again, as I come out of the mistiness of, I would say, delulu until it becomes true thinking. Okay, you realize a lot of this is mind over matter. But who's in your corner, who's in your village, all of that matters too. So every day I just try to fortify myself. Finish each day and be done with it. Again, conditioning my body to expect conditioning, expect action, expect love and tenderness too. But yeah, like mentally, just gonna push through today. I drove around a little bit, so all the traffic of people on the roads leaving work, you know, I'm glad that people will be able to go back to work, get paid. Got a lot of little different applications, irons out, etc. Like I said, I want to be very careful about who I work with moving forward, because my life and my legacy are too precious to just be mixed up in a whole bunch of BS. And that's why I said it feels like living in the twilight zone. But in the meantime, I feel better just being able to do this video journal. Again, talk about the highs and the lows, because that's what life is, you know? No water, no mud. You need both to grow. So I honor the phases and the spaces that I am at currently. That's why I say I try to stay present. So the gym has a TV in it, and one of the guys that was in here, he was watching football. So it was at Sports Center, have the highlights showing. And I laugh because, you know, you see the athletes, you see them on game day. Their concentration, their focus. But everything about their life is centered around their performance. Their life is optimized to help them perform for the season. That includes the recovery, surgeries, downtime, incredibly skilled. You know, very little time for other things. And again, even for them, very important. Who's in their corner? Who's helping them achieve their goals? Because again, the wear and tear on that body. When that career is up, you still gotta be able to do something constructively. I remember, you know, a few years ago, a lot of the science coming out about the brain injuries that some of those guys get from all that hitting up against each other and stuff, and just how violent some of the guys can be, how, again, their personalities change. And of course we don't hear about it as much, you know. That's why I kind of feel like we love stories more than we'd like to acknowledge and believe. We love being lied to, right? We love fairy tales. We love the pretty things. We don't want to know about the grit. We don't want to know about the pain, the tears, the blood, the sacrifices, all the bullshit. We don't want to hear about that. We don't want to know about it. We don't want to see it. We don't want to feel it. We just want the pretty final picture. But it's the daily, the decisions, the commitments, the pushing through that really gets you there. So that's why I said, you know, like, just as a woman, it was important for me to find my own pace, develop my own rhythm, really understand what my body wants and needs, how it wants to be pushed. And when I say pushed, I don't mean like physically. I mean like, this is a comfort zone. Can you go past it? This is where you say you want to be. How are you going to get there? What's your plan? What's your strategy? They say things like everything in moderation. But who knows? Who knows? I say just do what you gotta do. Do what's best for you. Just don't harm anyone. I'm doing 15 minutes on my little bike using the hill workouts feature and adjusting the workload up and down, pushing a little harder, just again building a cadence. Because the end goal is just health, wellness, feeling good, you know, developing a pace. That's good. So that again, when I need to sprint, I can sprint. But in the meantime, I have my breath, I have my sure footing, and I can go the distance. I've made a lot of trade-offs in my life and in my career. And in this year, I'm absolutely living with those decisions. A lot of beginnings, but also a lot of endings. And it is what it is, you know? Gotta keep moving forward. I painted my nails today. It's a gray color. It's from the brand Zoya. Alright. I think I'm gonna do, I think today is, well, since I did yoga yesterday, and the day before that, I did upper body. So today I'm gonna do the lower half. Get some strength training up. But I feel good. I feel good. Like I said, just a little sad, but honoring that. Tomorrow I probably won't even remember this feeling. But like I said, just that feeling of like, when you realize how much we are lied to on such a large level, seeing the reality of the news, and it's like, there's no escaping it. We're alive, we're here. These are the people that we deal with, you know? And it's like I said, there's anti-blackness everywhere that you go. So that feeling of like escaping to somewhere else, it's like, unless you literally denounce your US citizenship, you're still stuck with these jokers. And it's a hard reality. It's a harsh reality. Like I said, living in the area that I live in, still do think about relocating. But like I said, it's like when you have investments and business interests and things of that nature, it's like you realize, again, even if you go somewhere else, the US is still gonna get their taxes, you know? So those are just some of the things that I think about. Where would I want to go? You know, who's going to join me there? Am I going to have access to certain amenities that I am accustomed to, or this or better? You know, stuff like that. But like I said, yeah, man, like it's easy to like put yourself in a little bubble where it's like, these are the things, these are the people, this is the da-da-da-da-da. But it's like, again, it still ladders up to the larger order of like, still got to pay them taxes. They still want to know where your money coming from. They still want their cut. So that's why I said, like, when I realized I had to be courageous in a different way, I had to like just acknowledge that the alliances that I would need to draw for my strategic partnerships were going to have to be heavy hitters, because when you see certain things, you can't unsee it. And yeah, like I said, there are a lot of leaders that are getting checked right now, and that's the reality of it. There's so many people that have been impacted by the decisions of so many people. So much trust and betrayal has happened. And like I said, for me, like when I look at jobs, I look at things so differently now, right? I say, all right, there's going to be an expectation that I show up to work in a certain way, but what's your leadership like, right? Who are the people you already have hired? Is this is this going to be a safe work environment for me? Is it going to be psychologically safe? Am I going to be bullied? If I present a fact that helps the mission or the strategy, and just because you don't like it, am I going to be targeted? Is my personal information going to be leaked? Is my trust going to be breached? Am I going to be flip the bird in a meeting by the leader of the team, you know? These are all real things that I've dealt with in my career. And like I said, I just turned 40. Just turned 40. So to see the real of the world, to see the real of adults, it's disheartening. Because I'm like, these jokers make more money than me, have more access to things than I do, and this is how they behave. This is what is rewarded in our society. This type of depravity, this type of disrespect, it's rewarded. It's actually rewarded. And here I am thinking about humanity and how things could be equitable. That shit fall on deaf ears. So that's why I said, like, I had to just like really sit with myself for a little bit and say, you know, get real. Get real about the people you're around. Get real about what you say you want to bring to life, so that the people who are truly supposed to be there on the journey with you can find you. Because they say lightning doesn't strike the same place twice. So, yeah, I'm gonna go now so I can get my legs in and then go home. I'll probably go to sleep. It's one of those days where it's like, I'm just in my girl feels right now, today, and it's okay. I have no interest of girl bossing. I have no problem with, again, being an advocate for myself, putting things in order, repairing some of the missteps that I took, taking accountability for myself. Because I was like, I have to remember to not let anybody get me to a point where I'm so angry that I fuck up my own bag. I've done that before in my past. And so again, even with looking at some of the decisions I've made in my life, right? Like, what were the triggers, right? Like, what got me to a place of rage where it's like I either was physically fighting or I just said fuck it all, and I like burned bridges or what have you. And sometimes sometimes it's necessary, and that's why I say, like, just with the healing journey and looking at the real aggressors and real transgressors in my life, right? Sometimes I am the villain and sometimes I'm not, right? I'm never the victim. It's just saying, when you are interacting with two different things, there's a place where it's like, we are trying to live under the system of white supremacy as people who are self-actualizing. What does that look like? What does that feel like? Right? Because again, in theory, here are the steps to get there. Here's what you need to do. But then there are real gatekeepers that you meet up with, right? There are real things that kind of block your path. And sometimes it's the people that look like you. Sometimes it's people in your family. Sometimes, and you really have to make some hard decisions. And again, when you see certain things, you can't unsee it. And so, I think about it a lot, and I'm like, wow. I remember coming up with the idea of like, start this business or do this thing. But when those years ago, when you come up with that idea, you don't really understand all the different steps that you'll have to take in order to continue on that journey. So that's why I'm like, I understand it now. I get it now. Why people say it's a lonely road, because again, it's like, you start talking money, shit get tricky. So just be minding my business, doing my little thing, trying to keep myself focused, keep to my schedule, no longer people pleasing or overwhelming myself with things that don't concern me, because what you gonna do about it? What can any of us honestly do about it? And that's why I said, I'm like, I had to take a step back and just look at my own upbringing. I had to reckon with a lot of stuff, especially religion, because I'm like, again, y'all saying that this is all okay? God said this is all okay? Your God said this is all okay, because that couldn't be the God that, like, you start asking a whole bunch of questions and stuff starts to get a little dicey there. That's why I said, like, by the time I decided to take a step back, travel the world, meet with other people, listen to different perspectives, get to know me, meditate, spend more time with myself, I decided, I was like, hey, listen, I don't need to follow anybody's dogma or teachings for me to know how to be a good person. And by a good person, I mean a kind person, because kind doesn't mean nice. I'm not a pushover. Can't treat me any kind of way. You're not going to underpay me and exploit me. You know, people try to get one over on you. And I get it. Like, I have a very soft, soothing voice. I look young. So people really try to play me, and they're often taken aback when they realize that I can be very savage. And I love it, because you shouldn't be out here trying to get over on people. But yeah, I'm just like, again, I look forward to every day, right? Like, no matter what goes on in the day, I try to, again, get the things that are most important to me, the priority. I try to get the priority done first, so that if I need to show up in my family or anything, I can, without feeling like my entire day has been thwarted by something that I had no control over. Because as a woman, again, like, just that natural pull of our emotions drives me crazy sometimes. But I realize, hey, I'm a woman. That's how I was made. So I can't work against my natural nature. What I can do is understand it and mold my life and my business around that, rather than trying to play into the patriarchy, knowing that it was designed to literally extract everything from me and leave nothing for me, and to tell me to be grateful that you get to be of service, and I don't care how painful it is to you. I can't live like that. It's not rewarding. The little girl in me that still remembers the, like, joyful breeze of childhood, and, you know, she's really grateful, because I'm definitely somebody that would have fought for her back in the day. Like, I'd go to war for her every day if I had to, you know, because when I hear myself laugh sometimes, like, just pure, unbridled laughter and joy, like, it is the sweetest, lightest feeling, and I'm so grateful that I get to feel it. But in the meantime, it's like, I can't give that part of myself to everybody in this world. And I'm grateful that there are more women, especially on YouTube, that are talking about that now. Because I'm like, yes, even if I just leave a comment, I'm like, you get it. You get it. Because, again, I've been in rooms where it's like, I'm the only Black woman. I'm in rooms where I'm told, hey, you know, not everyone gets to be in these rooms, to kind of remind me to stay in my place. Comes with the territory, I guess. So that's why I said I try my best to just, you know, stay focused, stay out of things that don't pertain to me. But, like, it's like, I think it's a quote I've seen, and it said, never assume that a master of peace isn't skilled at war. And I think that fully encapsulates who I am. I'm chill most of the time. Most of the time. I can go along with if I'm in the right group, right environment, what's the plan? Okay, clear and concise instructions. What do we need to do? That whole, like, you need to be able to do well in ambiguity. No, get clear on what the priority is, what the direction is. Stop operating in the energy of lack and scarcity and expect everybody to, like, bend to your whim and whimsy. Because I'm like, no, if that's the case, I need to be compensated appropriately to come in and make decisions at that level. Because y'all, again, there's so much exploitation that is tolerated, especially for women, in these workplaces, where I'm like, this is not okay. It's really not. And again, the upside of being able to be around different groups of people, you see the difference of how, again, even if you are a woman, if you're a white woman, how you're treated. If you're an Indian woman, how you're treated. If you're an Asian woman, how you're treated. If you're a Black woman, how you're treated. You see the difference. And again, Black women are expected to just eat crow and keep it moving. And it's not okay. And I think, again, when I take accountability for myself, my life and my career, I'm like, I'm good on the fact that, like, I stood up for myself. I said no and I meant that shit. I was not going to let that system just eat me whole. So I'm like, again, everything outside of myself, my bases are covered, right? My basic needs are met. All the other nice things, you gotta pivot, but had it once, can get it again. And my focus now is just really, really clear. There's a lot that I did in service of humanity, where it's like, it wasn't even about the money, but now I see things so differently, and I'm like, it's always gonna be about the money. Because even for the church, and I don't talk about it often, but I used to consult for an evangelical Christian church for a little bit. Because again, I know the power of my communication skills. And this is nothing against them, but just saying in general, like, I watch how certain things are weaponized. I watch how spirituality is politicized. I watch how religion is politicized, but they're also cash cows, right? They are also abundant and, like, flourishing. And so when you start talking about money and you are playing with the psyches of people about, like, what they should do with their money, if they should give it to you, I'm like, tighten up those purse strings, tighten up, rein it in, because again, you see the cycles continue, and you say, not me, I had to break some cycles. And again, the fallout of that is still materializing, because again, like, it makes no sense. I can't look at the economic data, the trend report, seeing how many Black women, including myself, who are out of work, how many of us, like, really went up against the current administration and the previous administration and really fought for the rights and liberties of U.S. citizens, and how many of us are still feeling the ramifications of all the DEI work that's been slaughtered, how many of us are being silenced into positions, just how much the dissent and the free speech really obliterated a lot of industries where Black women succeeded. And I'm wondering where they are, wondering how they're doing, what's going on. And again, knowing that they're all the microeconomics of the Black communities around the little pockets of concentrations of Black people, like I said, especially in the DMV area, there's so many things that you navigate here with the secret societies and the Divine Nine and the Jesuits and the Masons and private industry, pharma. There's so much going on. And so, you navigate, and you're like, they had us out there fighting each other, and we were okay with it, because, and when I say we, I'm saying in general, like, if you're saying together as a community, it's like I saw plain as day every day that there's no such thing as the Black community, because the Black community had no problem in fighting, had no problem sacrificing each other because they were good. So I move very differently. I don't easily fall in line where certain things are concerned, because, like I said, I've lived in New York, worked in the fashion industry, worked in a music advocacy organization here in DC. My dad is a DJ, right? Who, again, went on to do wonderful things for the community that he now lives in, and retired from the school system because he gave back to children, right? I have lived through enough to know what I should do and what I shouldn't do. Like I said, my mom worked in real estate, worked in law, you know, like works in insurance. Like there's a lot of things that I've seen and I've witnessed by being approximated to different ethnicities and cultures, especially within the diaspora. So that's why I said I'm just really trying to find my people, and not even find, but like let the people that I'm supposed to work with know that I'm here and where they can find me, because there's a lot of underhanded backside of stuff. But again, I had no problem. Hey, this is what the program is. Okay, at least I know. Now I know how to move around it. As simple as that. Like I don't, even with the Jesuits in the Catholic Church, like just know not to go to Catholic churches, right? I know not to work for certain nonprofits. I know not to play into certain circumstances, if you will. So when I look at the reality of what is going on, there's a part of me that is sad, because I'm like, if we as a people could have gotten our ducks in a row, like, and really stayed on code, we could have been okay right now. And I think that's what hurts the most. Is like, this didn't have to be the outcome that everybody's experiencing. But there's no solidarity, right? We were expecting that enough people were listening, enough people were willing to sacrifice their short-term pleasures for the long-term safety of our communities, but not everybody was on code. All of our data is out in private text hands at this point. And so again, when I meet people and they're like, oh, are you on LinkedIn? Are you doing? I'm like, no, I'm not on social media. I'm not on LinkedIn, because again, we couldn't trust the government with our private information. What makes you think we're going to be able to trust big tech with that stuff? Dealing with security breaches before this administration. And I'm like, again, just don't assume because I'm peaceful and that I focus on art and poetry and wellness that I'm not skilled at war. I really don't want to have to take it there. But again, that's the reality of where we live. And even more specifically me, the region that I live in. That's what it's turned into. But I wouldn't have turned my back on my brothers and sisters. Not like that. I was on code. You know? But the question was like, what code was I on, right? Like I was reading the Code for Black Liberation and Sovereignty, right? I was looking at all the sacrifices of the ancestors, right? The bloodshed, the trauma, the abuse, the hangings, the genocides. I was looking at all of that. I was looking at the fact that we are alive, right? Like that we are the ones that survived. And so we have to live out our purpose. We have to rebuild. They destroy it, rebuild it. They destroy it, rebuild it. They destroy it, rebuild it, right? They can't break our spirit. It's a lot of stuff out there that tries to, but can't let it. That's why I said take your time, take your breaks. Like I said, I'm not in the best, or I shouldn't say I'm not in the best mood. I'm not as jovial as I could be. No, you take the good with the bad and you keep going. You're here on an assignment, whether you believe it or not, because again, like you are the mixture of the sperm and the egg of your bloodline that came by way through your mama's womb, your mama's portal. So you're already the best of them, your parents. So what are you going to do while you're here? You know, I think about stuff like that. I go to the parks and I watch, again, families interact. I watch workers interact. I watch the plants and the trees and the water and the insects. I look at the blades of grass and I see, I'm like, is there going to be an ant that crawls over there? Who's there? You know, sometimes I'll say hello to the little insects because I'm like, again, just because it's tiny, it has life. It just looks different than us. We're still a mammal, you know. We just have a different skill set. So I try to have compassion, and like I said, I try to keep the sweet parts of me for myself because the world does not deserve that all the time. But that's also why, like, I love Scorpios so much. As I told you, I'm a Scorpio. But that's why I love us, because we have this beautiful way of, like, alchemizing the most heartbreaking and devastating circumstances that we've been through into something beautiful. And that's the medicine that we give to others. And it's a really remarkable thing. Like, we're able to show people unconditional love in a way that they may never experience again, which is why some people are like, oh, you never forget them. Like, some people are like, oh, it's the worst fucking person in the world. It depends on what you did. But it is what it is. You live and you learn, baby. That's why I said tomorrow I'll probably be in a completely different mood. I might record another video and upload it. Who knows? But again, I'm trying not to get too production heavy, right? Like, I try to just let whatever comes out, even when I'm working with the cards, because I'm like, I've worked with video production teams. Most of my experience is in mass communications, advertising, PR, marketing. I know what it's like to do production work, and I don't ever want to, like, feel the need to pick apart myself in that way to put on a whole full production. It's like, what you get is what you get, baby. Pick up the gems and keep it moving. If you're going to sit through it, you're going to sit through it. If you're not, you're not. I ain't going to hold you to it, but I did my part. And in the meantime, like I said, I gotta do my bottom half. I've been on here for 43 minutes. But I'm good. I'm good. Time is a social construct anyway. So it's all relative. I think one of the most important things you can do, go get another machine. One of the most important things you can do is find value, give your life value outside of a monetary value, so you can figure out what you're really about. That usually trips people up. I've asked a few people, like, what would you do if money were no object? Who would you be? And some people can't even imagine. That's how important money is. So again, like I said, I know I got bills to pay. Every person that I know has bills to pay, so I'll never be like, oh, it doesn't matter. No, it actually matters. The price is the price. And I'm also one of those people that I could tell you now, because it's been years, I've gotten out of my feelings about it. I spent a few years talking to different coaches to figure out who I wanted to work with. And these are like career coaches, subject matter expert coaches, people who, sell you a bill of goods and tell you they can do all these things for you. And hold on. And I told this guy, and I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it was a white guy that I was talking to. Because sometimes, you can, like I said, everyone can be your teacher, but it's this white coach. I don't even remember the guy's name. That's how insignificant he is. But I think his whole spiel was that he made $30,000 a month or something like that. And like I said, this was some years ago. And scheduled a call with him. A lot of them are really salesy, so they try to give you that fear of missing out and try to get you to hurry up and sign on with them like they're so busy and they're doing you a favor by taking your call and all this other stuff. And he asked me how much did I want to make a month, and I said, you said you make 30,000. I said, well, I want to make like 40, 50,000. And he like scoffed at me, like he couldn't believe the audacity of me to believe that I could make that. I never worked with him. Years later, talked to another woman, told me sign-on costs would be $25,000 to work with her as a coach. I said, okay, cool, no problem. They tell you, because once you're in my network, you're in a network for life. We're like a family. And I said, okay, cool. And I was like, all right, well, I understand we both want to be sure that it's a good fit. Didn't work out. And sometimes, again, some of these calls were like me just getting comfortable with the process of like, there's going to be an expectation of fair and equal exchange, right? Because I still have to show up and do the work. It's just that I'm paying you for your time. And I did have a formal mentor from when I was a student at Parsons. Miss A, rest her soul. She's a brilliant woman, Black woman, textile scientist. She's one of the ones who talked to me about the importance of patents and trademarks. She taught import and export in textile science. She's a scientist. And we would spend, after I graduated, after I finished my degree, we kept in touch because she was one of those professors where it's like she wasn't going to be easy on you just because you were Black. And I loved her deeply. We would talk a lot about my family. We would talk about her family. We would talk about our careers. And we would spend hours on the phone, sometimes to the point where like I would be falling asleep on the phone. She would just be talking. And I realize the significance now of like she was pouring into me. And very much understood the world that I was stepping into and how I would need to understand the world that I was stepping into, not from the glitz and glamour side, not from the fun party side, but from the business side, the protect what you create side. And I'm forever grateful. It's also by working with her, it's how I met like the first Black woman project manager. Her god sister worked for a big company, and we were helping her put together a database. And so we would, again, just spend hours working, weekends and nights, putting this thing together. And again, labor of love, because I understood what she was trying to accomplish. I've gone on to have many wonderful opportunities to help Black women entrepreneurs way below market rate. Because for me, it was like a little bit goes a long way. It was always bigger than me. So that's why I say, I've sacrificed and given up a lot to be so young and so wise. It's because I am the culmination of all the decisions that I've made. I'm not mad at it at all, but I'm really at a place where it's like I have to stand tall on my values, right? Like I said, I think about my grandparents, I think about Miss A, I think about my mom, I think about my dad, I think about my niece. My baby girl is about to go to college, and I'm gonna try not to cry because the time just flew by. And I was in the hospital room when she was born, and that is one of the just most beautiful experiences you've ever seen. Like just when she finally caught her breath. And it's like, this little girl's about to go to college. And I'm like, wow, time just flew by. So all these years of pouring into people, watching life, participating in life, creating initiatives, creating projects, supporting people's dreams and initiatives. And I look up and I'm like, wow, the impact, right? You can't put a price on that. And I'm like, again, of all the people who made the rights that we do have possible as people of color in America, sure, I could go somewhere else, but I feel like it's my duty and obligation to stay and fight. And if that just means fighting with my intelligence and my communications, that's how I'm gonna fight, right? But it's crazy, It's crazy to see how, in spite of the brutality of a people, there's still so much beauty and love and compassion and grace. I'm sure there could be uprisings, but it's like, what a lot of those people take for granted is that the majority of us are really trying our best to not be destructive. Because we really understand that we're at a watershed moment. Like I said, Twilight Zone never had an interest in being in front of the camera. Was completely fine with just doing my work and going home. And I probably still will be. Because, again, not everything's for everybody. I get it now. But I also know that freedom isn't free. And I don't ever want anybody to feel like I felt, because it's a hard, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe how the out-of-body experience feels like, to not feel safe in your own body when, like, you realize that these so-called rights are being ripped from you, and what it does to you psychologically. It was a jarring experience to feel like, oh my God, my body is not my own. Like, a man can decide what happens to me, and I have no recourse, even though it's my body. So I was like, ooh, I have to move very differently. I don't want to go to specific states, even just for vacation, because if something happens and their reproductive laws or rights, and they're anti-black, and as much as there's so much good in the world, there's still so much evil. There's still so many people that are trying to incite violence. And you really just gotta find your people. So, like I said, I feel like there's so much that's ending, so much that's beginning, and I'm trying to do my best to close the chapters with as much grace and humility as possible. But also feeling like the African proverb that I've seen in my career that says, if you want to go if you want to go far, go together. If you want to go fast, go alone. I think I said that right. I hope I said that right. But I feel like that is the truth. I would rather go far together than go fast alone. And I think I just was trying to do that in mixed company, where there were still so many Judases around me. So I'll probably still visit New York if it still exists. I'm not trying to be funny, I promise, or grim, I'm serious. But it's like, not everybody does well with change. So see Amazon's pulling jobs out of New York. Child, the browning of America got everybody up in arms. And that's what, again, gotta be prepared for war, because freedom ain't free. They not gonna hand it to you, baby. You gotta be willing to take it. You gotta be willing to take it. In any event, this is the problem with going slow, right? I wouldn't even count the rest, but it feels good to like just feel the weight, feel it in my body, push on through, right? Give it a little bit of rest, and then get back to it. And I love it because you feel your body respond to it. You're like, I feel like I'm prancing. I am just gliding. Oops, that one was a little hard. Got a little too carried away. But that's why, again, I said I noticed when I do work out, I notice how I feel in my mind and my body. So I like it. Took a little while to get comfortable with pushing myself and you know, being okay with being new at something. But it's all good. You live and you learn. That's part of the experience. What time is it? Okay, I've been here a while. Oh yeah, I've been talking for an hour. This is great. It's gonna populate my YouTube channel, which I'm really happy about. Again, just a little slice on the internet. Because I've gone from the era of like, there was Black Planet, there was Tumblr, there was MySpace. What else? There was Pinterest, there was Facebook, then there was WordPress, the .org and the .com if you did your own web hosted site. I've had so many different initiatives, so many different projects on my own before I actually started doing client work. I've done so much in the web dev space for other people, website launches, e-commerce launches. A lot of Black people, especially in the DMV, are very entrepreneurial. Most Black people in the DMV have side businesses, side hustles, always got something going on. And you kind of have to, right? Because as we saw with the government shutdown, like, you got to be able to get your 1-2. And difference is, like, I was tired on a like soul level from a lot of the work that I had done just in the advocacy space and dealing with a lot of conflict up close and personal consistently from all sides of the aisle. It took its toll on me, so I had to heal. I had to take some time and like travel the world a little bit, let other environments pour into me and me pour into it, and get my mind right. I'm getting back there, but like I said, it took its toll. And this is even before we get to October 7th, which, again, being gaslit about that, even though, and that was another reason why I left LinkedIn, because people in my professional network were experiencing the first person effects of that, where it's like some of them aren't even alive anymore, and I couldn't stomach it. Seeing in real time murder being fed, and again, private industry not really doing too much about it. So that's why I said, like, just a lot of what so many people are implicated in. It's like nobody wants to be accountable for how violent these countries are and how we play a hand in it. I couldn't turn a blind eye to a lot of that stuff. So again, I don't need to be a favorite of everyone's. And truly wish peace and like rest and healing to people who are actually survivors. Because like I said, working in geopolitics, working in international development, sitting at the intersection of like interfaith councils, I can't wrap my head around some of the stuff that is done in the name of God. So, just really trying to steer clear of certain things for a bit. But it's like, again, gotta draw the line in the sand somewhere. And for me, it's really just, again, giving my body what it needs to help fuel me through my human efforting right now. All right, I'm really gonna go now. Like I said, I'm probably gonna go to sleep because I'm tired. Today has been a day. So, toodles.